On my videos, in my Discord, and on Reddit, I've gotten questions from people asking about how they can stop themselves from mashing and how to start playing with more intention and how to construct an offense and things like that. Now, if you've seen my Never Lose to Mashing video, some of this is going to feel like we're retreading old ground, and that's because we kind of are. But I'm going to reframe some of the concepts that I covered in that video in a new way that I think is going to be helpful for people that are still struggling with this. So what we want to do is when we're learning our character, we want to find sequences of moves that present our opponent with a problem. And it's important that we know what the answer to that problem is. And we're effectively looking for whether or not our opponent is able to solve the problem on their own or not. So a really extreme example of this is something like back 3 into down forward 1 on Fang. So back 3 is a +6 move, and down forward 1 is a 14 frame mid. It's also 0 on block. So we have a true frame trap into a move that's very, very safe and also doesn't necessarily give up our turn because we're 0 on block. If we both do a 10 frame move, we'll trade with the opponent, right? And all we're checking for is our opponent capable of recognizing that this is a frame trap and stopping themselves from mashing on knee, right? Right? Because if they mash, then they're gonna get a counter hit down forward 1 and they're gonna fall down. And the important thing about them falling down is that I'm +36. So what I can do is I can just do this, right? So literally the problem is this is a frame trap, and if you get hit by it, I'm gonna just do it again. So if you cannot stop yourself from mashing, and if you cannot block these 2 moves in a row, I'm not gonna move on from this. I'm just gonna keep doing this over and over. I need to see that you are capable of progressing past this point for me to move past this point with you. Right. Now that's a very extreme example because in that example, we're checking for one specific thing. But oftentimes the problems that you're going to provide the opponent have multiple different solutions to them. So another sequence that I might think about is down forward 1 into back 1, right? And the reason why this works is because the down forward 1 is again 0 on block and my back 1 is 10 frames. So if he tries to jab on this, then I get a knockdown and I can hit him after that. Fang can actually get the shoulder like that, right? But like I said, there are multiple solutions to this sequence. So first, if I do this, then, and he just blocks, then I'm -12. So if he starts to be really patient and starts to respect me after I do down forward 1, then he's going to be able to punish me. And that would inform me that I maybe need to stop doing this sequence and progress on to something else. Now, another solution that he could do is something like ducking it and then punishing me, because that back 1 is a high, right? So I would be taking a lot more damage from this, but because he's ducking, he is assuming a lot more risk, right? If I see that he's trying to duck this, then maybe I progress to, after I do down forward 1, I hop kick him, right? And now suddenly the risk that he's taking is something that I can take advantage of, right? But even hop kicking could be too risky. I could put together a safer sequence by doing like down forward 1 into back 4. And that would be really nice because, well, first of all, back 4 works because it's a 12 frame mid, which is dope. And when it hits somebody, I'm +4 and I have like a little bit of distance between us. So I could do some kind of whiff punish if I'm really nice, right? And you can even explore and invent these types of like low reward options that will cover multiple options that the opponent is trying to do. So right now I have the opponent set to either do jab or do the crouch thing, right? But if I do down forward 1 into up forward 2, it'll beat both. And maybe it's not a great reward. And like, even if he blocks this, right? Say he blocks this. We're -10, but he's pretty far away from us. Like, he probably doesn't have a 10 frame move that's going to be able to reach us here. In fact, like, he doesn't. Like, I just know that, right? So the point that I'm trying to illustrate here is you want to find these sequences of moves that are generally low risk routes that you can go down to try to gather information from the opponent, information about how they like to try to solve problems. And once you assess the ways that they like to solve problems, you can start implementing riskier options that address those things. So for example, if I notice that my opponent is doing highs every single time they block something, then I can start doing this, because even though it's really slow and really risky, it's also low profiling and high moves are going to go over it. If I notice that my opponent is sidestepping a bunch, then after I do something like this, maybe I do my down forward 3+4 to try to catch that sidestep, right? This doesn't just extend the block strength, this extends to other elements of the game as well. So for example, after Fang does up forward 1+2 as a throw, the opponent is in a grounded situation and they have to choose a wake up option. If they're consistently doing these sort of wake up kick attacks, I can start doing down forward 3 and it's gonna be a full launcher, right? That's a shitty combo, but that's just an example of one thing. If they start to just stand up and block, this option is still okay because it's only -7 on block. So we're not going to get punished for this. We are closer than I would like to be to the opponent at -7, but, you know, there's not like a risk associated with it, right? And I think the important thing to remember when you're doing these sort of very low risk, low reward type of moves over and over is that sometimes you're going to get hit and they're going to throw out a risky move and it's going to work and you're going to take a bunch of damage. And the way that you keep composure in those moments is to remember that this game is a 3 out of 5 game for a reason, right? Sure, you take a bunch of damage and it's really punishing, but you also have more time than most other fighting games to gather more information from your opponent and try to be able to adapt. So try to take something from all of those opportunities and try to learn, again, how your opponent likes to address the problems that they're presented with, and then take calculated risks according to what you're seeing. And this is very important. If you're presenting a problem and your opponent is not showing you that they have a good answer to it, or you're not satisfied with the answer they're giving, just keep doing it. Like there's no reason for you to progress past that. It's not dishonorable, it's not whatever. Some people might think that what I'm describing here is a knowledge check, but this is not a knowledge check. When people say knowledge check, they're usually describing a move or a sequence of moves that has a very niche solution that you have to like basically go out of your way to know. These things like this being a frame trap is something that a player should be able to intuit if they have a fundamental understanding of how fighting games work. So go and invent these safe sequences that present problems for the opponent. Know what the solution to those problems are. Test your opponents to see if they're able to give a satisfying answer to those problems. And if they can't, just eat their lunch. That's going to do it for today's video. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next one.